It's movement September 19th, 2016. This is weather warning. And there's a lot of crazy weather going on. First, before we get into weather warning, we ain't got to worry about no solar flares that could cause X-class solar flares. Everything's quiet on the sun. The only thing we got to worry about is the coronal hole. Alright? And the solar wind that's streaming from it will hit Earth either tonight on the 19th or tomorrow on the 20th. When that happens, all storms, earthquakes, any electronic magnetic above the Earth's surface increases. And sometimes during this time they use Haarp and they use the solar wind to increase storms. Alright, folks? And that's why the past week we seen the super typhoon Marent. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it became a super typhoon. And second, tropical storm Julie. Because tropical storm Julie, for the first time ever, is the first tropical storm or hurricane that formed while it was over land. And if you watch my only other weather video on this channel so far, I put warnings and watches out for Julie down in Florida and the Caribbean from the coronal hole, from the solar winds, and from heartbreaks. Alright, folks? And this article is going to be at the bottom. The only article, all the rest of the weather related links you can find at the beginning of my page, just like if you got to subscribe. That's all. I'm not put the subscriptions yet in my videos, but I just put the articles. Alright, so one of the weather rarity was Tropical Storm Julie forms over land. That's last week. Okay, folks? And you can read more about solar wind at the bottom here. Alright, it talks about coronal holes and how it affects and how solar winds come from these holes directly towards Earth or to any other part of the solar system. Okay, folks? So right now we ain't got no threats from X-class solar flares, nothing like that. The only thing that we got right now is solar winds that's hitting our Earth later on, or probably around 7 p.m. on September 19th for the next 24 hours till tomorrow. But from September the 19th all the way up till September the 22nd, all right, about 5 days, we're going to see a lot of storms increase, intensify, or we could see earthquakes at certain places, and I'm about to get into that. So first, warnings and watches for earthquakes. Because we got 3 big tropical storms. We got a hurricane, we got Tropical Storm Karl, and we got Tropical Storm Lisa that even the Weather Society hasn't named, and I'm going to prove it yet. But where these tropical storms are, you can see on our map. We're going to view in. This is where the ionosphere and energy particles are the most charged up right now. Okay, folks? It's in the south of the Caribbean, middle of America, Panama, middle of Mexico, Brazil, almost all of the northern part of South America, folks. Alright? And when I put warnings and watches for earthquakes, this is how I do it. And it's not just to intensify. You come up here. This is the ionic sphere where all the highs and low, the pressure points are pushing down. Okay? When you see red to yellow right there, it means that it's higher. Alright? Between 4 and 5 on here is normal. Alright, folks? That's normal pressure. But once you start seeing blue and severe color, this is where you should put out earthquake warning. Alright, you see 13 megahertz, right? Let me zoom in. Right here. So I'd put warnings and watches for major earthquakes. Major earthquakes that could be 7.0 or bigger. Right in the middle of the Caribbean. Between South America and the Caribbean islands. Puerto Rico, all that. Where that gray is. Okay? I put warnings and watches still in effect all the way up to 7.0 or greater, right dab where you see the purple and the red surrounding it. Let me zoom in for you folks. Okay, let me move it up. Alright, where you see that purple and that red, I put warnings and watches for between a 6 to 8.0 earthquake. Alright, all the way to Chile, even the blue. When I go up to Brazil, All right. Panama and Central, I'll put warnings and watches for major earthquakes too. Okay, folks. Warnings and watches, because that's two different colors. That's going too extreme. Well, I got that low where it's 8 megahertz, where it's 9 megahertz. I put warnings and watches for 6.5 to 6.0s. All right, folks. And when you see that low, yellow or red, all right, red to yellow, I mean, you could put major earthquake warning there too. Okay, so I put major earthquake warning right in the middle, right at the bottom of the Atlantic by the Antarctica and Indian Ocean. Okay, folks, warnings and watches. All right, so we got warnings and watches for, I want to say right now, 3.0 to 4.0 on the west coast of the United States of America. Warnings and watches for northern parts of Mexico between 4 to 6.0. 6.0 to 7.0 right there in central Central America, all the way up to 8.0 at the bottom around Panama to the middle of Mexico, where it's purple and red. 6.0 to 7.0 warnings and watches, and right in the middle of the Caribbean, I'm putting a major earthquake warning. All right, when we come down to South America, warnings and watches for all of North of South America between 6 to 7.0. Warnings and watches where all the red is and the purple. The purple, definitely earthquake's going to hit there. I say around 6.0, 7.0, folks. Another way I looked at warnings and watches is when I go to my earthquake map. You see there's a 3.7 in South America, Colombia. See Australia, North America, United States, California. Alright, but I really look for the abnormal earthquakes and places where the ionic sphere and the energy entering from the solar wind on both of those maps that I showed you. See, there's a 4.1 in South America and Peru. Okay. When we scroll down, we look for any big ones. You see 3.2 ain't big, but South America. See 2.8 in the Caribbean Seas, the U.S. Virgin Islands. 3.6 in Colombia. Now, where we seen that gray at, the Caribbean Sea, Dominican Republic, you see a 4.5. A 4.5. Okay, folks? 3.2 Chile. Alright. Yeah, 2.5 in North America, Oklahoma. A 4.9 Indonesia. Alright. So I'm putting warnings and watches. A 2.6 Caribbean. 4.1 Europe, Russia. 4.6 South Korea. So like I said about, you see that, the 4.0 in Russia. You see, I put warnings and watches for a major earthquake, not moderate, because yellow would be moderate. Yellow is moderate. Red to yellow, major. Alright, Caribbean islands, down here by Dominican, where that gray is, put a warning and watches for next 24 to 48 hours for a major earthquake. And all this pressure is going to change. So in the future, I'm still putting warnings and watches for all of Mexico and Central America. Alright, for 6.0 to 7.0. Alright, and I'm putting a warning and watches for a major earthquake too in all of North of South America. In the middle, around Chile, Peru, I'm put warnings and watches. And up here where that blue line's touching, warnings and watches for earthquakes, folks. Now, it's not just that. When you look at the energy, you can see also where hurricanes are formed and where hurricanes' energy and the solar wind comes in and affect it. And also we got Haarp rings. So let's do warnings and watches on that, folks. So when I do warnings and watches on hurricanes, first you gotta look at the waters. Alright? And anywhere from the equator all the way up to 10-20 north could create a hurricane or a typhoon, wherever part of the world you live in. Anyway, from the equator all the way down to 10 south, create a hurricane or a typhoon. Okay, folks. And right now we got three tropical storm. We got two tropical storms. One, not even the Weather Channel NOAA is talking about right now. It's going to be called Lisa. And we got Hurricane Paine, Paine. All right. And now see where the wind directions are going first. So let me zoom out. And first, we're going to talk about Hurricane Paine. This is Hurricane Paine right down here. We're by New California, by Mexico, down here in the Pacific Ocean. And you can see how there's a swirl. Alright, folks. You can see where it's going to head to if you look at the winds blowing around it. Alright. With this hurricane, I believe that this might make it to a category 3 or 4. But what I'm scared about this hurricane is that this could hit California for real. Because there ain't nothing that normally pushes hurricanes towards New California or Mexico where they just died out or stay. Alright, folks. For the first time ever, I'm actually worried about Hurricane Paine, for the first time ever, being a major hurricane that hits the West Coast. Alright. And hopefully I'm wrong. But when I'm looking at this thing is going to move up. And you can see the wind barriers on the side. I wish I had a pointer. It's pushing it right, mostly off the West Coast, right? But then you got low over here. So let's look at this hurricane. So when we're looking at it, it's supposed, the Weather Channel is predicting it's going to hit North Carolina, and then it's going to become a tropical depression somewhere, around Arizona and stuff. Just a lot of dumping rain and stuff over there. Alright, but the way this thing's looking, it's looking like it's skimming the West Coast. So let's look at the Pacific infrared. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, you could check out the movement of this hurricane in the future. So Hurricane Paine is going to increase all the way it gets to 30 north if it stays over water. Alright, if it moves off land, it's going to increase because the water between New California and by Mexico, by Arizona, is really warm. It's like 90 degrees, so it increase. And for the first time ever, I can't believe this, but I'm putting warnings and watches for Category 2 hurricane, Category 1 and Category 2 hurricane to hit Southern California. And this is before NOAA or the National Weather Channel, all this. I'm putting a warning for the Category 1, Category 2 hurricane to make landfall. Hopefully I'm wrong on California, because weather goes from west to east over here in the Pacific. And this thing is just skimming up. If this was going to make landfall somewhere in North Carolina, it'd be more, not North Carolina, excuse me, but in New California and Mexico, it'd be more to the land. But this thing is about 200 miles off of land. And when it starts to hit the other jet stream path and move towards land, and it's going to make landfall right on that borderline, right there in South California. It might be a tropical depression, but it's still going to pick up steam till it hits 30 north. So I'm putting warnings and watches for landfall in the next 3 days. So around the 24th, September 24th, 25th. And it's going to pick up because of tonight and tomorrow with the solar winds. I'll put warnings and watches for northern New California for a Category 1, Category 2, possible Category 3 hurricane. And a Category 1, Category 2 hurricane landfall in the southern tip of the United States, California, Southern California. And I'm putting warnings and watches for major storms around the 25th, 26th in Arizona. It might be a tropical depression for the first time we ever see. A tropical storm still over Arizona. So major floods warning for that. Okay, our next tropical storm is Tropical Karl. And I can't show you a picture of them on Tropical Lisa, but I will show you guys in a second. So this is Tropical Storm Karl as it's picking up steam and getting more intense. It's nearing America and the Caribbeans. Let me pause this for a second and go to the wind map. Now from this wind map, we can see the remnants of Julie. Alright, folks. Look at the east coast of the United States of America. And you can see like a little circle. But you can see how all the wind is picking up and it's going straight up the coast. Alright. Then we got a low in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean pushing down. And we got two circular things. Alright. The one that's right in the middle, right here, is Tropical Storm Karl. Alright. The bigger one that I'm really afraid for is Tropical Storm Lisa, that they still haven't named, and it's going to become a hurricane. Both of these got potentials of becoming a hurricane. The water is warm, but they're both steering towards the Caribbean, but the southeast Florida. Alright. And that's Tropical Storm Karl and Tropical Storm that they haven't named yet, Lisa. And I'm actually really scared of these two storms because I haven't seen this pattern since Sandy, when I used to do weather. So this is Karl. But when you look at the Atlantic, remember today at 7 o'clock for the next all the way to the 25th, storms are going to increase from the solar winds hitting our Earth, energizing our Earth. Okay, folks? And when you look at the tech map, you can see where the energy is at, folks. Alright, so off on the west, alright, that water is all magnetized by the incoming solar winds. And where not the name Tropical Storm Lisa is, but you can see that that is exactly where that tropical storm is located at. Even though NOAA or the Weather Center hasn't named it yet, but that's going to be a beast. And what I haven't seen since Sandy is this, folks. I haven't seen this since Sandy. When we look down near the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, okay, I'm going to move this. We see a Haarp ring. And that's intensifying that area. Okay, folks? That is intensifying it. I am seeing the same Haarp rings that I seen during Sandy. Except one that's different is down here in Mexico and on the border of Texas. Alright, so we got Haarp ring all the way out here. So within the next 24 to 72 hours, major storm, but this is the path, folks. Most of the time when you see these Haarp rings like that, that's the path of what these tropical storms are going to take. So let's look back at Tropical Storm Karl and future hurricane. That's way Lisa. Alright. So Tropical Storm Karl is going to stay on the moves. Alright, folks. Now let me put warnings and watches out for hurricanes and Haarp rings and stuff like that. I can't believe I'm doing this. I hope I'm wrong. Really, I do. I hope I'm wrong. Alright, I'm putting warnings and watches for Tropical Storm Karl. And it's going to intensify to a hurricane by the 25th. Hopefully it dies again. But I'm putting warnings and watches for that tropical storm around Florida, the Caribbeans, Georgia, South and North Carolina. Okay. I'm putting warnings and watches around October the 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Alright. Around Rosh Hashanah, the Day of the Tabernacles. Okay, folks. Today we paid for priests. I'm putting hurricane warnings because it's going to take me a couple days. I'm going to do an update on Hurricane Lisa, but that's definitely going to increase. But I'm doing a hurricane warning for the whole East Coast. Same with Tropical Storm Karl. I'm doing warning and watches for a hurricane or tropical storm for the next 14 days. So all the way up to October the 4th. Tropical storm and hurricane warnings for the whole East Coast, including New York, New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, the Caribbean. Okay, now let's do regular warnings and watches for the next 24 to 48 hours as these storms are going to increase from the solar winds coming from the sun and the Haarp rings that we see increasing in these places. I'm putting warnings and watches for the next 24 to 48 hours in Florida and in the southeast of Georgia. Warnings and watches for Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina on the East Coast. I'm putting warnings and watches for the next 24 hours in Michigan, around Detroit, Toledo, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati. I'm putting warnings and watches for Hurricane Paine. Alright, around the 25th, alright, around California, Southern California, and New California, Mexico, and putting tropical to major storms in Arizona, around 25th, 26th, 27th. I'm putting warnings and watches for the next 24 to 48 hours in the state of Washington and and Oregon. Also with Haarp rings, I'm putting warnings and watches for an earthquake around the state of Washington, folks. But I haven't seen this kind of activity since Sandy. And they ain't talking about Tropical Lisa. And that's a super big system right there, folks. I mean, this system is humongous. Look at that system. It's all the way by coming off of Africa. Right in the middle of 15 North. Alright. And that's where all that energy that we showed on that tech plate is. And it's going. It's going west, folks. When it hits around 60 west, it's going to start going north. And that's in the next 7 days. And it might stall out there. Karl is right on 20 north, and then it's increasing. It's going to increase because also the solar winds. But we have all this Haarp activity going on and up on the east coast. Where also remnants of Julia is sucking everything from the south, all in the Florida and the Caribbeans up. So as this moves over, Karl and Lisa is going to get sucked up. This is the No Face Movement. Moving to next time. Please rate, subscribe, follow me, and please be prepared. Alright, I got warnings and watches for the East Coast tropical storm hurricanes till October the 4th. Either Karl or Lisa. I got warnings and watches for major earthquakes, as we already talked. But I also got warnings and watches for maybe the first time ever, Category 1, Category 2, possible Category 3 hurricane making landfall on the west coast of the United States of America. This is the No Face Movement. Movement to next time. Facing off.